Hi team, how y'all doing? Good to see you today. Look, I'm back. I'm back on full fighting form. Well, I'm feeling so much better. I washed my hair yesterday and now it's just kind of all doing its thing. So I'm going to try and get it up in a nice high pony. Get myself ready, for this masterclass today. Good to see you all. Hope you had a lovely weekend. I am so excited because it feels like spring in Belfast. I actually went back to the gym to train today. I have had 2 full weeks off training because honestly, I've just been feeling so incredibly crap. And I'm just going to pin this to the top. Let me just check. Yeah, it says I'm live. Oh, yes, I am live. Great. Just wanted to make sure. Just going to go in and pin this to the top and make sure that you can all see me and find me. Very important, to be able to see me and find me. Okay. I'll say a few hellos in a minute. Just going to find my video and let me just refresh. Pin it to the top so that everyone can find me. And then we are going to get started. Oh, it says it's pinned, but it might not be pinned in to the top. Let me go in and do that now. And then you will have my full attention for today. Here we go. Pin to top. Excellent. There we are. We're now pinned to the top. Good to see you all. How is everybody today? Like I said, I'm feeling so much better today. Like, oh my goodness, I was dying. I was really not well last week. And even on the weekend, perimenopause is just smacking me in the face. Like, despite being on HRT, I just upped my dose of HRT 3 months ago. So this is now my 4th month on my new dose of HRT. And I'm slowly turning a corner, but it has been tough, let me tell you. I have been really suffering. And then with being ill on top of that, and then blowing my calf muscle on top of that, let me tell you, life has not been fun for me recently. So, but here we are. Nobody cares, work harder, right? Nobody gives a damn. Just, whinge all you like. I said to my husband, you're actually lucky that I could whinge and complain a lot more than I do. I said, you should actually count yourself lucky that I don't complain as much as I could complain with how bad I feel. That's what I said to him on the weekend. So let me say a few hellos. We have Crystal here. Good morning, Crystal. The lovely Maya is here. Hello, Maya. She says, your arms look amazing. I've actually been dieting from last year. And so, from not last year, really from January, I've been dieting. And so I'm only on 1700 calories weekly, but then I'm on a bit more during the week. But yes, definitely I have noticed that I'm looking a wee bit more sculpted, but I need to get back to the gym because my arms, my shoulders are so much smaller than they used to be years ago because I just don't have the time to train as hard as I used to train. But we've actually restructured our our office working hours, and most everybody's working from home now. And I'm going to be working a lot from home as well, which means I'm going to be able to work in the morning and then go back and train with Mark at midday, which is good. So I'm going to be back into my hard, heavy training consistently as much as I can. So expect to see me looking super buff within the next couple of months. Right, back to the hellos. Need to find all my tabs here. Where are they all? Here we go. There we are. Okay, Janet Hawkins is saying good morning from Calgary. Ingrid's here. Hello, lovely Ingrid. We've got Andrea Wolford is here. We've got Maiken is here as well. Good to see you with Mimi and Tammy and Tara. And we have Maya saying it should be pinned already. It was in featured, Maya, but it wasn't pinned to the top. You have to go into featured, and then once you pin it to featured, then you have to go into featured and pin it to the top, and you can only do that from a laptop, weirdly. I don't know if I've said Tammy. I think I did. Mimi, Tammy, Tara, Susan is here too. Anne Nairn is here. Hello, lovely Anne. Tammy Donald. We have Rosalind is here too. We have Paula is here, and Charlita. She says, I actually made a class. I was like, I don't know Charlita's name. I am very glad that you did make a live today. Great to see you. We have Tanya, Linda, Mia is here too, and we have Candice and Christina all saying hello. Hello guys, good to see you all. So nice to have you here, and anybody else who is joining us live on YouTube. Sabrina is here on YouTube saying hello. Hi, Sabrina. So today, because you've all been asking for the muscle building stuff, what we are going to talk about, or what I'm going to teach you, is how to build big legs. Because I've seen this coming up quite a lot in the groups. Loads of you are asking, how do you build big legs? Why are my legs not growing? My upper body is is muscly and coming in, but my lower body is not. And you're all, having a wee bit of anxiety over not being able to build the big legs. So I thought that we would specifically talk about that today, and I can take you through my personal journey, some of which you'll have heard, some of which you won't have heard. And we're going to talk about what to do if you can't squat, if you're injured, and what to do if you're scared to build big legs, and really just kind of everything about building big legs. So let me start with a story. Whenever I started bodybuilding, it was literally because I wanted to build big legs. I wanted to build big legs and I wanted to build big glutes. So I was super vested in building big legs, and I was super vested in building big glutes as well. So what I would do whenever I first started was I would go on to the internet and I would look at all of my favorite fitness models who had gorgeous legs. And I would look up their workouts that they put on YouTube and I would follow their workouts. So I remember following some by, I can't even remember her name now, but one of my favorite fitness models from years ago. Oh my God, her name has completely escaped me. I can't remember. Spanish girl, gorgeous girl, beautiful legs. I would follow her. I would follow, oh my God, all the names now. I'm just like having a complete blank of the names. But, oh my goodness, who? Anyway, gone, don't know, can't remember. Fitness models. I would follow fitness models that I really liked, and I would go on YouTube and I would look up their workouts, and I would go into the gym and I would do their workouts. And I would think, well, clearly this is going to help me to build bigger legs. Jessica Arevalo, that's who it was. I used to love Jessica Arevalo, even though she isn't big, she's tiny. She had a great body. And so she would post a lot of her workouts, or glute building workouts, or quad building workouts, all that kind of stuff. And so I would think, well, I'm going to do what Jessica does, or I'm going to do what, the name is going to come back to me, I can't remember. Anyway, I'm going to do what she does to build legs. I diligently applied myself to my leg training, and my legs didn't get any bigger, okay? And that was my measurement for whether I was being successful or not. I wasn't looking at any other measurement other than when I flex my quads in the mirror, do they look bigger? When I look at my glutes in the mirror, do they look bigger? And quite honestly, after about a year of training, they really didn't look any bigger. Or I would say not a year, 6 months of training. They were a little bit bigger, but I was like, surely if I work really hard, or if I just find the perfect program, they're gonna be bigger, right? That was what I was thinking. So I went online and I thought, okay, who has the biggest legs in the world? And I looked at the male Olympia bodybuilders, like the ones in the big categories, like Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler, and like some of them real mass monsters. And I thought, right, that's what I need to be doing. I need to be doing their training workouts. So I would go on to bodybuilding.com and I would download, pay for and download, say, Jay Cutler's leg training workout. And I would think, great, I'm going to do his workout. And so I would do that for about 3 months, 4 months. And I would look at my legs and like, shit, they're not actually any bigger. And so then I would say, okay, well, maybe this isn't working. Maybe I need to do someone else's workout. So I remember once I went online and I was searching for like the workout that was going to blow up my quads. And I found this guy online called the Quad Guy. And I think I still have his workout here, okay, in my phone somewhere. And I downloaded his quad workout. And I looked at it and I thought, holy shit, like it was the most insane amount of volume I've ever seen in my entire life. I am pretty sure that you were training quads every single day. I can't exactly remember, but I remember looking at the workouts and there was about, I would say 10 to 12 different exercises in every single workout. And they were really high volume. So if you were doing Bulgarian split squats, for example, it would be like 6 sets on each leg of Bulgarian split squats. And this was one of, say, I think between 8 and 12, I want to say there was a lot of them, exercises in that particular workout. Excuse me. And this was every single day. And I remember this one particular time I was in the gym and I was doing the Quad Guys workout, and you didn't just do leg extensions, right? It wasn't just like, back and forward, for like 10 reps or 12 reps. you had to do all this tempo stuff. So you would using all this weird apparatus. So you would get a block or like a wedge, and you would put it on top of your shins under the pad on the leg extension. That's the one where you sit and you swing your legs out in front of you like this. And you had to like bring it up and like hold it and pause and then lower it for like 5 and then swing it up and then lower it for 5. And it just took so much bloody time. And then there was, squats and sissy squats and wide leg squats. And then there was leg presses with your legs close together and your legs far apart and all of these different exercises. And I remember, I think I did this quad workout for about 4 weeks. And it got to the point where I was just fed up going to the gym, because going to the gym went from being a 45-minute affair to it was taking me about 2 hours, because not only did I have to get through all the sets of the workout, but there were so many exercises that it took me about 2 hours to complete. But the other thing that would happen was, because I knew the workout was so long and there were so many sets and so many exercises, I would say I remember this one day doing Bulgarian split squats, and I remember looking at the weight and thinking, well, I know that on this exercise I could go a lot heavier. Like I think I maybe had a 25 kilo plate in one hand, like I was holding onto the plate, and I knew that I could have probably a 25 kilo plate on the other hand as well. But I remember looking at the workout and going, I'm only halfway through this workout. I have another 6 exercises or 5 exercises to complete after this one. I'd already done 4 exercises before we got to this. And I remember thinking, if I do 50 kilos in my final set for this, I am going to be destroyed doing the other exercises. So I thought, I'm not going to go as heavy as I can go. I'm just going to, I'll go slightly lighter just to get through them, because I know there's a lot more to do. And so this would happen in every single exercise. I would see how many more exercises I had to do. I would see how many more sets I had to do and how long it was going to take me. And I would hold back in each exercise because I wouldn't want to completely and utterly destroy myself. So what actually happened then was my quads didn't end up growing at all. And it was taking me 2 hours in the gym every day. It was too long. It was too tedious. I was exhausted all the time. And I really began to dread going to the gym, because I was just training legs constantly and doing this enormous amount of volume. And your legs are half your body. And so I was exhausted all the time, and I was tired all the time and fatigued all the time, because I was working half my body. And what I now know as well is my legs just weren't recovering, because I wasn't giving them any chance to recover, because I was training them all the time. Yes, I was training them at different angles, but I was still training my legs all the time. So then I went to meet with Mark Getty, as you guys know. And Mark looked at the workout that I had been doing, and he was like, you've been doing this every day? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, no. You don't need to do this. That's complete bullshit. Like, come to the gym tomorrow. We'll train legs. You'll be fine. So I went to the gym with Mark and did 5 exercises. 5. That was it. 5 exercises. It took me 45 minutes from start to finish, with adequate breaks in between. And I remember each set, the final set of each exercise, was really, really, really hard. But once I'd done it, Mark was like dandering off to the machine. I'd be like, oh, is that it? And he'd be like, do you want to do it again? I'm like, no, I don't want to do it again. He's like, well, come on then, next exercise. And we would get on the next machine, and the first set would be really light. And I'd be like, this is really light. And I'd be like, Mark, I'm heavier than I can go heavier than this. And he's like, don't worry, you'll be fine. And then the next set would be heavy again. I expected the next set to be like really hard, and it would be a little heavier, but still not, really taxing. And I'd be like, Mark, I'm stronger than this. I can go heavier than this. He's like, Kim, calm down. I know what I'm doing here. Okay. Such a female thing for me to be questioning Mark and going, oh, Mark, you don't know, I can go heavier. And he was like, calm down, love, you'll be fine. Then we got to the final set, and I was like, holy shit. And I really understood why Mark had made me go light in the earlier sets. But again, that final set was really, really heavy and really hard. But once I got off the machine and I, moved on to the next exercise, it was like, oh, okay, well, that was hard for like a minute, but it's like, okay, it's fine. Like, it's over now. And then we did our, walking lunges. Then we did our final set of leg curls, and then it was done. And I walked out of the gym going, oh yeah, it was pretty hard. And like, I definitely feel, I felt a wee bit, like a wee bit sick or whatever, but it was like, well, that wasn't, anywhere near as long, boring, endurance-based, hard as I had been doing up until that point. Yes, I had to work harder with Mark 5 times for 5 minutes of like the 60-minute session, but that was all. Whereas in every other workout I'd been doing up until that point, thinking that I was building really big legs, I was working hard the entire time. The whole thing felt hard. Whereas now whenever I go to train legs with Mark, I only do 4 exercises for legs now, and there's only 4 minutes of that 45-minute session with Mark that is hard. The rest of it isn't hard at all. The rest of it's just a warm-up. Everything before the final set is just a warm-up. Now, I honestly left the gym that day going, this guy has the biggest legs I've ever seen, Mark Getty does, and the biggest physique I've ever seen, but I really can't see how that is going to make my legs grow. Like, I really was quite perplexed, because in my mind, I had it that the harder you work, the longer you work. In order for something to be effective, you have to have some kind of endurance, some kind of suffering aspect to it. You had to really feel like, oh, this is so hard. Like if you didn't feel that way the whole way through the workout, like, was it even worth it, right? Were you even working hard? Well, we all know the story about how it took me 11 days to recover from that first workout, because I was not sore during the workout. I did not feel the burn during the workout. At no point were my legs burning, were my glutes burning. The only thing that worked hard during that workout with Mark that I could feel in my body was my cardiovascular system. I was out of breath and I was slightly panicky, right? So my brain was working hard, like, oh my God, I can't do this. And I was out of breath, but at no point did I feel the burn in my muscles. And true to form, true to what Mark said, my legs grew more in the first 9 months of training with Mark than they had in the 3 years previously I'd been training. I went to train with Mark in 2 years, 2018. April 2018, I started training in April 2016. So I had trained for 2 solid years doing every single leg workout that I could possibly find to grow my quads, and my quads grew more in 8 months of training with Mark Getty doing less time, less exercises, less volume, less everything, except less intensity for one set. That was the only thing that was different, and my legs grew more in those 9 months. So here's what I learned from Mark Getty whenever we started, training together and talking together and recording a lot of stuff together. I learned that whenever you are in bodybuilding, especially whenever you're training legs, so whenever you're trying to grow your legs and grow your glutes, which are the biggest muscle group in your entire body, you have to decide if you are doing a marathon or a sprint, because you can't do both at the same time. Mark's kind of training is much more like a sprint. And what Mark always says is you can run slow for a long period of time, such as a marathon, or you can run all out, flat out, as fast as you possibly can for a really short space of time, which is a sprint. But you can't do both. You can't run flat out as fast as you can for as long as you can in a marathon. It doesn't work that way. You have to conserve energy. So the way I had been training previously was doing these really high volume workouts with loads of sets and loads of reps. But because I was looking at these sets, in this quad guy, workout that I had been doing, I had been looking at them going, oh my God, well, like I have, another 5 exercises to get through after this, another 8 exercises to get through. So therefore, I actually have to hold back a little bit because I know I have a lot more to get through. So Mark's principle was, if you go hard and heavy all the time, you will always hold something back because you have an awful lot more to get through. So mentally, psychologically, you will hold something back. Just like you do in a marathon, you're always holding back a little bit of effort to conserve your energy to keep running. Whereas in a sprint, you don't hold anything back. You go all out because you only have to do it once. Once you've sprinted in a race, you're never going to have to go back and do the race again unless you're in a different race. And that's kind of like training in the gym. Once you have done one set all out to the max and you can't do any more, you move on to the next exercise. So that's like going and entering a new race. And then that's a completely different exercise and a completely different set of requirements. Like you would never run 100 meter, you would never run 3 100 meter sprint races on the same day. You would run 100 meter, maybe a 200 meter, maybe a relay. You would never run the same race 3 times on the same day. It's exactly the same in the gym. You only go all out in one final set as hard as you possibly can, and everything else is just a warm up for that one final set. So that's whenever my whole training philosophy completely shifted away from high volume into high intensity training. One of the other things that happens whenever people try to or go to train legs is that they don't understand how muscle grows, and that muscle is not always, feeling the burn in the muscle does not always mean growth. And in fact, if you feel a burn in your muscle whenever you're training the muscle, that is indicative of less growth than high intensity training. So let's look at the two differences. Whenever you are doing high volume training, you are utilizing the principle of metabolic stress. Metabolic stress basically means that the metabolites inside the muscle are being kind of infused, right, or kind of shaken up, if you like. So you're placing your brain is triggering a stressor in your muscle, because let's say you're doing 20 to 30 reps of squats. If you look at your training program and it says you're going to do 30 reps of squats, do you think you're going to choose, like, say your top weight in a squat is 80 kilos. Do you think you're going to choose 80 kilos if you know you have to do 30 reps? No, you're going to look at it and go, 30 reps, holy shit, right, I'm going to choose 20 kilos. So you're going to go for a lower weight because you know you have to reach the higher reps. And so what happens then is, because you are not placing mechanical stress on the muscle, where the muscle rips apart, all you're doing is sending a stressor from the brain to the muscles. The muscle starts to feel a burn, right? You're working the muscle's shaking like this with the effort of working, but you're not ripping it apart because you're not putting it under so much pressure that it rips and forces it apart. It does still cause some muscle damage, which is why volume training does work. It just doesn't work as effectively as high intensity training. So whenever you choose a lower weight and a higher rep range, and you feel a burn in the muscle, people think that means that the muscle is working really hard. It doesn't. It means the muscle is working, yes, but it means that it's working less hard than high intensity training. And I think this is one of the biggest confusions that happens whenever women, especially women in menopause, whenever they start strength training, they think that if they don't feel the burn in the muscle, it's not working, or they place too much emphasis on feeling the burn. They're like, oh, I did those like single leg, hip thrusts, and oh my God, like my glutes were on fire. Just because your glutes are on fire doesn't mean that they're growing. It does mean that you are causing some small amount of trauma to them, but it doesn't mean that you're causing the maximum amount of trauma to them. And this is the biggest misconception that I think happens in leg training. So the training that Mark does with high intensity training, and the training that we promote in all my programs, is that you go one set to failure. So your final set of every exercise, you should aim to go as heavy as you can possibly go. Now, with a spotter, you can go heavier. You can feel more comfortable going heavier if you have a spotter for something like squats. Because they will, when you think you've reached that point of failure, they will say, no, come on, you've got 2 more, you've got 4 more. So when your brain gives up and goes, oh, I can't do this anymore, like this is too heavy, your spotter will say, okay, I'm with you, I got you, let's go. So you can end up pushing out 2 or 4 extra reps with the confidence of a spotter behind you saying, we've got this and we're doing this together. So you really do go to failure. And anyone who's truly reached failure in a squat knows that sometimes you go down and you're not sure if you're getting back up again. Like, it takes every single ounce of strength in your body to get back up. And some people say to me, how do you know you've reached failure? You know you've reached failure when you understand that if you went back down, you would not get up, even with the spotter. That's true muscle failure. But if you, and how do you know? Oh, you just know. You know because in the last rep, when you went down, your muscles were already shaking. Your brain was already going, I swear to God, we can't do this. And you genuinely had reached a point where you actually have no strength. There's a funny thing that happens. And like, whenever you've really trained to failure and you understand what it feels like to run out of strength, then you know how to apply that principle to your training. It happens to me all the time. Let's say in a bench press, okay? So I'm benching, right? and my husband is spotting me and he's not lifting the bar. And then maybe we get to like 6 reps and I get to here and I push and he goes, okay, I've got you. And he gives me a little bit of a lift. And so I'll push it all the way out. And then I lower down and then I push to here and he gives me a bit of a lift. And then I lower and I push and he gives me a little bit of a lift, right? And then I lower and I feel my arms go, oh, and my arms actually start to like fail on the way down. And then I push back up and I go, Ryan, I don't think I've got another one. And he's like, no, you've got one more. But see, when my arms go down, it's like it takes every single ounce of strength for me to lower the bar. And I'm like, then I panic and I'm like, fuck, I know I couldn't get this back up. And then Ryan's going, push. And I'm like, and I'm pushing as hard as I can. But he really at this point is lifting a lot of the weight of the bar. And I know if he said to me, do one more, the bar would do this. Like it would just fall. Like all of the strength has gone. My muscles are zapped, gone. There's nothing left, nada. It's the same as in my leg training with Mark. Like whenever we sometimes get to 8 reps. So he'll say, get 8 reps. And I'll say, in my head, I go, okay, I'm going to try and get 10. And so I count down from 10 in my head and I get to 6. So I get to, 4 reps left. And Mark goes, come on, 2 more. And I think, no, I'm getting 4. But I haven't told Mark I'm getting 4. I'm going to call out, I'm going to surprise them, right? We surprised for him. I'm going to get to like the 8th rep and go, come on, 2 more. And what I do is I go down for the 5th rep. And then I go down for the 6th rep and I'm like, oh shit. And then I try to push back up and I realize I'm like, fuck. And this rep goes up. It takes me like 10 seconds from the bottom to the top. And I know if I went down for another one, I'm not getting back up. Like that 6th rep that 8th rep was so hard. I know that if I go down for a 9th, I'm hitting the deck and I'm not getting back up again. And so then I rack the bar and sometimes I go to Mark, oh my God, I thought I was getting 10 there, but there is no way I was getting another 2. And he goes, yeah, no, you were fine at 8. Like he knows. Now, there has been the odd time when I've pushed up on 8 and I pushed up pretty strong and Mark's pushed up pretty, he's held me and I've gone, 2 more, Mark, 2 more. And he goes, yeah, come on, let's go, 2 more. And he knows I have 2 more because I still had some strength left to go down and back up again. And then on the 10th one, like it's super, super, super tight. And so as long as you have some strength left, you haven't failed. But when you train in that way, when you train to the point where you are done, and I mean like done, you cannot push it from the bottom, you can't push it from the bottom to the top, or you can't go from the bottom to the top. But the biggest indication of whether you're training to failure or not is actually, can you go down with control? If you're worried about going down, if you're not sure your legs are going to hold you on the descent, you know that you have reached failure or that you're very close to failure, because it's not just about the ascent, it's actually about the descent. And so that's what Mark taught me about, about whether it's a marathon or a sprint. But here's the other thing, another couple of things about that. Whenever you train high volume, which is what I did in the beginning, which is what many women do, because genuinely they're just afraid to go to failure. And it's not a woman thing. It's a universal human being thing. Let me tell you, training to failure is hard. Training to failure is not easy. Like training to failure requires so much mental strength. Most people just don't have it. And that's the honest to God's truth. Most people just don't have it. Now you can build it over time. I was training with a girl a couple of months ago, and we were training, and just her and I brought her to train with a friend of mine. I brought her to train with Mark and I, and we were doing legs and glutes. It was a Friday, and we were doing dumbbell deadlifts, and she picked up 230 kilos, right, to do her final set of dumbbell deadlifts, and she was going up and down. She was and it was really tough, right? And she got to 6 reps and she had gone down and up and down and up and down and up. Like there was no hesitation. It was hard, but she was going down and up and down and up in her dumbbell deadlifts. She got to 6 reps and she went, oh, I can't do any more. And I went, yes, you fucking can. Go, 4 more. And she went, oh, and she went down and up and down. And she went, oh, I can't do any more. And I was like, yes, you can. Do 2 more. And I made her do 2 more. I just shouted at her, of course you can. And she did 2 more. And the last one was really hard. And she goes, oh my God. And then she dropped the dumbbells. And she was like, I didn't think I had 4 more. And I said, I knew you had 4 more because you didn't actually struggle on the first 6. You went down and up and down and up and down and up 6 times. But then what happened is on the 6th rep, Her brain went, this is really, really hard. I don't think we can do this. And she bought into that shit rather than realizing, okay, well, hang on. Did I go up and down 6 times? And she wanted to give up, and I wouldn't let her give up. And she had 4 more reps in the tank. Had she been training by herself and her brain had said, this is really hard, she would actually have stopped. She would have set the dumbbells down at 6 reps, and she would have left 4 reps of muscle growth on the table. It's those 4 reps of muscle growth that many of you are leaving on the table in leg day. And this is why your legs are not growing. Now, are your legs and glutes growing from doing the volume training that, you're doing? Yeah, but they're growing in direct relation to the amount of effort that you're putting in. And that's the other thing about muscle. And I think that's the most frustrating thing about building muscle, is that muscle doesn't lie. Muscle, like I always say, you never get participation muscle. Muscle grows as a direct response to the amount of effort that you are putting in. And the more effort you put in, the more muscle you will be rewarded with. And it does take time. Because here's what happens whenever you train your muscle to failure using high intensity training. So imagine you have, I know this is a vegan group, but this is the only way that I can explain it to you. Probably everybody here at some point in their life has seen a piece of steak. Imagine you had a piece of sirloin steak, okay? Or fillet steak in your hand, right? Piece of fillet steak. That's what I imagine a piece of muscle looks like. Imagine then you took a meat cleaver and you bump, right? And you hit that piece of fillet steak and you made it kind of all, mushed up, right? That is what your muscle looks like after you have trained it with high intensity training. It's mangled, it's ripped apart, it's like you've bashed it with a meat cleaver. And whereas if you can imagine taking a piece of fillet steak and you train it using metabolic stress, which is high volume training, imagine you just took it in your hand and you kind of squeezed it a bit, okay? You're just squeezing it, but just with the palms of your hands. And then you did this. Yes, it would look a bit softer and a bit different, a bit more deformed, but it wouldn't look like it had looked when you'd whacked it with a meat cleaver. That's how your muscle looks after you have trained it with high intensity training. Then what happens is whenever you're resting, which I was not doing whenever I was doing the quad guys workout, whenever you are resting, your muscle then goes through the process of rebuilding that muscle tissue. So it wants to, everything that's been bashed with the meat cleaver, it wants to build that all up again. It wants to form a nice uniform layer of scar tissue, i.e. muscle fiber, on the top of it, and it wants to make it nice and uniform and perfect again. So basically it goes from being this size, bashed up like a meat cleaver, and then it grows back stronger. That's what happens to your muscles during high intensity training. But it is a process. You have to rip them apart effectively first. Then you have to rest, preferably for 7 days before you train that muscle group again with high intensity training. And you have to build that up. And then you go again and you repeat the same process. Now, if you've just squished the muscle around, like if you used your hands to squeeze a piece of fillet steak, I wish I could use a more non-meat based analogy, but I can't. I apologize. I don't think seitan would do the same, wouldn't happen the same way. But if you had done that, then your body doesn't have as much muscle to repair. So if you train your legs high volume but less intense, your body doesn't have as much to repair and grow back. Yes, it'll repair it and it'll kind of form it again back into a nice little shape, but there isn't as much growth because there's not as much repair. The more repair there is, the more muscle growth happens. How do you damage it enough that you need to do massive amount of repairs? High intensity training. The higher volume stuff that burns does not build muscle as fast as the high intensity stuff that rips and shreds and goes in there with a jackhammer and smashes your muscles apart. Smashing your muscles apart will force your body to grow them back bigger and stronger if you give them good rest and good food. Now, excuse me, I'm still getting over my cold, so I'm just going to blow my nose slightly. So I'm not sniffing the whole time during this masterclass. Okay, so what else? Here's the other thing. A lot of you will say, but Kim, I don't have a spotter, or I'm scared to go that heavy. I don't like squatting. I get really scared when I'm squatting. And I do see it all the time in the groups. People say, I know I could have gone heavier, but I got scared on the Smith machine, or I got scared on this machine, or I'm afraid that I'm gonna, and I get it. Like it's terrifying to train legs the way legs actually need trained. Like it's terrifying. But I have a couple of things for you guys. I'm going to do a Q&A at the end of this as well, so you can ask some questions. I have a couple of strategies for you. So people always say to me, how do I squat more? And my answer always is, to squat more, you have to squat more. What does that mean? Well, you have to know what your limitations are. If you don't know how to squat, right? Say you can't squat very heavy and you want to be able to squat more. You need to practice squatting. The only way you get better at something is by practicing it. Now, this is kind of gonna go against what I was just saying about the high intensity training, but not really, so bear with me. Here's what I did in the beginning. Whenever I first started training, in that first year, I really wanted to squat heavy. I used to follow, like Stephanie Sanzo, who's a powerlifter online. Love Stephanie, and she does really great, deadlifts and squats and all that kind of stuff. And she's a great body. And she would squat, and she's this tiny little pint-sized thing. And she would like put 100 kilos in the bar, and she would just like power it down and up, right? 100 kilos. I'd be like, 100 kilos, like I'd love to be able to squat 100 kilos. It's so funny. 100 kilos just seems light to me now, but I used to watch her squatting 100 kilos and just be like, how does she do that so effortlessly? Like, I want to be able to do that. And so I set myself a goal of being able to squat more. So I would go into the gym and I would spend an entire session squatting. An entire session. I would, start with the bar, and then I would put on, 2 10 kilos and then 2 20 kilos up to 60 kilos. And I would work on my form. I would work on high bench squats, low bench squats. I would, and then I was like, okay, so I'm nervous about going down. I didn't have a spotter. So I was like, how do I go down and up, without feeling super nervous? And I never thought to use the Smith machine. Didn't even know how to. I was always doing free bar stuff. So I would put a bench behind me and I would then sit right back and touch my butt to the bench and then stand up. So you weren't going all the way down past parallel. And I would do that with like heavy weights. I remember getting up to like 110 kilos with that. I went down, touched the bench and back up. Now you're effectively doing a half squat, but because you're pushing your butt right back against the bench and then standing up. It's called a high bench squat. It is actually an exercise. But because I was doing that, and because I was practicing all of these different ways of squatting, I got really, really, really good at squatting. And a lot of the fear went away because I got practiced at it. And so one of the ways that you can get stronger on your leg training is to understand your limitations and work on your limitations. So let's say you are scared of going really heavy on leg day. Well, then what I would recommend that you do is get onto whatever machine it is that scares you. And it could be the leg press, or it could be squatting, or it could be the hack squat, or the incline hack squat, or the pendulum squat. And rather than thinking, oh my God, I have to go really heavy, just be like, I don't have to go really heavy. I'm just going to go to where it feels comfortable. And I'm going to do all of my sets to what feels comfortable. So let's say you take the next 3 months, and you say, I'm not even going to focus on building muscle in my legs. All I'm going to focus on is getting over my fear. I'm going to focus on being really comfortable and getting over my fear, because the fear is limiting me. It's always your fears that limit you. That's your head that will hold you back from doing whatever it is you need to do, especially when training legs. So I would recommend, so let's say you're fearful of the hack squat, okay? Well, I would get into the gym, get onto the hack squat, and I would squat with no weight, and then I would add a little bit of weight, and I would do another 10 reps, then add another little bit of weight, do another 10 reps, another little bit of weight, go to like just beyond your comfort zone, but not way beyond it, and just practice doing that. And then maybe the next week you add a little bit more weight, or you go for one more rep, or you decrease your rest time. You do something to keep progressing week on week on week on week. And if you focus on that, if that's your limitation that you're scared, work on your limitation. And then you will be so practiced at squatting, so practiced on that machine, that by the time you one day whenever you do go for like a personal best, or you're going to go for, you up your weight and do, really train hard and train to failure, you get someone to come and spot you, you'll be so comfortable on the machine that you won't care. The data that you'll build from doing the machine regularly will help you to get over your fear, which will help you to go heavier. I think one of the things I have in my favor, and that's why we keep the exercises the same in this program all the way through. I never recommend that people change their exercises. Why? Because the more you do something, the more repetitions you do of something, the more comfortable you become with it. The more comfortable you become with it, the easier it becomes. It's like doing these videos. People watch me doing videos online, or doing sales videos, or doing presentations, and they're like, oh my goodness, Kim, like you're so natural at it. Like it comes so easy to you. How do you record the podcast? How do you do the masterclasses? How do you do it? It comes so easy to you. And I just tell them I've done it now since every year or every week since 2017. So I've been doing it for a long time. What's that? 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So it's the 8 years of practice that has caused me to become really, really good at it. It's the same as in the gym. I don't get worried about leg day anymore. I don't feel very sick. I don't feel vomity. I don't whatever, because I know that I can do it. I know how strong I am. I know that I've reached the very max of my weights. There's really nowhere else I can go from here very quickly. So all I have to do is focus on better form, maybe getting one more rep, maybe, like decreasing my rest time a little bit. It's like I have done this so much and for so long. I've done it week in and week out that it doesn't scare me anymore. And that's where you need to get to. So you need to figure out, what is your limitation? Is your limitation that you're fearful of going to failure? Is your limitation that you're fearful of hurting yourself? Is your limitation that you're fearful of tweaking a knee or something, right? Maybe you had you've an issue with your knees. Well, if that's your limitation, go and practice and push to the edge of your comfort zone and forget about building muscle and work on getting over that limitation first. It's like doing these videos. Somebody asked me the other day, how do I get good at, I'm so nervous on camera. I want to start an online company, but I'm so nervous on camera. What do? I said, pull out your iPhone and record yourself talking to the camera every day for 30 minutes. I was like, and they're like, well, what should I say? I said, just talk shite. Talk complete and utter shite. Just talk to the camera. Talk to the camera and then watch yourself back every single day. Even start with 10 minutes. 10 minutes of just talking to the camera and then watch yourself back for those 10 minutes. I said, if you do that every single day, I guarantee you will lose your fear of presenting. And they were like, oh, like I never thought of it in that way. And so it's the same with you. Like, why do you have to go in and why do you have to learn whenever you're pushing for your max and your personal best? Why not just go in and practice on the machines and get really super comfortable with them and make that the goal? And then once you feel that you're comfortable, then you can maybe say, okay, today I'm gonna get a spotter and I'm gonna see how strong I really am. And yeah, you'll be nervous when that happens, but you won't be as nervous because you'll feel comfortable on the machine. So you need to know your limitation. The other thing that might be holding you back, though, is a limitation such as an injury, like a lower back injury or a knee injury or something that prohibits you from going super strong with 2 legs. So what I would say to you guys is do single leg exercises. So a lot of times single leg exercises are much less scary than double leg exercises. I don't know what it is. Even me, if I'm squatting by myself on the Smith machine, I actually find it much less scary to do single leg, like say Bulgarian split squats with the bar on my back than I do I find that less scary than doing squats. So I actually feel more scared doing a squat on the Smith machine with 100 kilos than doing a single leg Bulgarian split squat with 100 kilos. I do 100 kilo single leg Bulgarian split squats on the machine. That's 220 pounds. So, but why is that less scary? Well, probably because I feel like I'm in control. When I go down, I feel like I'm in control of how deep I go. You don't need to go as far to get the burn in your quad and the burn in your glutes. I feel like I can control it better. I don't know what it is. But what I want you to remember is single leg work is just as effective for building big legs than double leg work is. It's just as effective. I have 100 kilos on one leg whenever I'm doing my Bulgarian split squats. So don't underestimate the power of single leg stuff. Whenever I can't train with Mark Getty in the gym, what I do is I do almost all single leg stuff. I do single leg step ups on the Smith. So I put my leg on a bench and I step up and tap and then down again. So I'm actually getting the depth. So think about that. My bench is quite high. So whenever I step my leg down to the ground, so I have the bar on my back, and I step, I start on the ground with one leg on the bench, and I push up, and I step right up, and then I go all the way down. Now, whenever I go all the way down and tap my leg on the floor again, the leg that's on the bench is in a super flexed, ass to the grass position. Super stretched, super strong, ass to the grass position. And then I push back up again. And then I lower all the way back down with control, and then I push back up again. Exactly the same as a squat. But for some reason, it's so much less scary. So don't underestimate the power of single leg work. And if anyone who's interested or doesn't really know what I'm talking about, I'll find a video. I have loads of videos on my phone of me doing this. I'll actually see if I can find one really quickly now, because this is a super effective exercise. And I know when I would have done these. So let me, by the way, to anyone who didn't know this, see in your photos, did you know you can do this? You can squidge them down really small, and then you can look at the different years. So I know that I can go back to 2022, which is when I was doing these in the gym. And I can find my training videos from this time, and I can show them to you. Here we go. Nearly there. 1 second. I'm going to find these. Oh, here we are. Here's the lovely Laura doing them. Here we go. Here is the lovely Laura. She must have been training with me this day. So this exercise here, okay? It's going to take a while to load because it's in the cloud. So this is, now Laura isn't going down as far as I would actually like her to go here. But look how much do you see how much her leg is lowered? Let me see if I can actually stop this when she's down there. So look at her position of her leg on the bench. Do you see how low now she's lifted her heels slightly, which is totally fine, but do you see how low her glutes are? That is the same exercise. That's exactly the same position as a squat. Let me see if I can see if mine is there. Yeah, I don't know. I must have been recording Laura that day. She mustn't have been recording me. So, but yeah, that's a really, really, really effective exercise for building your glutes. And if that is better for you, building your glutes and quads, and if that makes you feel safer, do that, right? Do that instead. You don't have to do the squat with 2 legs. Those high bench ones are really, really, really effective. Another really effective one is where you put a barbell on your back, again on the Smith machine, and you step back into a lunge. So you step back into a lunge, and then stand up, and then step back with the other leg, and then stand up, or same leg. So you step back, lunge, stand up, same leg, step back, lunge, stand up, step back, lunge, stand up. So that's a really, really effective leg and glute building exercise as well. Loads of different ways to build your legs. You don't always have to do single leg stuff. What else have I written here? How do you know if it's working? So here is another way. So another question people always say is, I don't feel like my legs are getting any bigger. I can't see any growth. Whenever you can't see any growth in your legs, it's usually because there's a layer of fat over the top of them. And whenever there's a layer of fat over the top of your legs, you're not going to see the growth. You'll only ever see growth in your legs if your legs are naturally lean. So if you're a real ectomorph and you're super lean and low body fat all over, you're gonna see great leg definition. I'm trying to think, the girl who I always talk about, Emma, who was my posing coach at the time, whenever she dropped her trousers and showed me her legs from training with Mark, I was like, how did you get legs like that? Well, a lot of it was Mark, but a lot of it was also genetics. Emma has really naturally lean and shredded legs. I don't. I'm a pear shape. I carry all of my fat in my legs. And so it's very hard for me to see definition in my legs. And so if you don't see a lot of definition, how do you know if it's working? If you're getting stronger. If you're getting stronger, then you've built muscle. How? Because the more muscle you have, the more you can push. Making the sense? It's true if you think about it, isn't it? The more muscle you have, the harder you can push. And if you hadn't built more muscle, you wouldn't be stronger in the gym. So if you're stronger and you're lifting more weights and you're doing more reps and you're able to, recover faster in between the sets and you're not quite as out of breath and your body isn't as taxed, then that means that you are getting stronger. And that is how you measure your progress whenever you can't see it physically in your body. And that's the fastest and easiest way to measure your progress. And the last thing I've written here is patience. You have to have patience. Building big legs really does take time. Now, if you're going to go and train with Mark Getty, like I did, and I did 2 leg days a week. One day was glutes and hams focused. Quads and... One day was quad focused, 5 exercises. Now I only do 4 because I'm just in maintenance mode. But when I was in build mode, I did 5 exercises. Leg curls, incline hack squat. I actually did a V squat, which I don't do anymore because it hurts my shoulder whenever I push up. So I did a V squat or a pendulum squat. And then I did a 3 sets of walking lunges, carrying dumbbells. And then I did a lying leg curl. And then on a Friday, I did another day, which was glutes and hamstrings focused. And that was lying leg curl, seated leg curl, dumbbell deadlifts, hip thrusts on the Smith machine, and then single standing leg curls. So those were the exercises that I did on Friday. And those 2 leg days built me the most enormous set of legs. And all I did was do 1 set to failure. That was it. 1 set to failure in each exercise. And I built huge legs in a year. My legs doubled in size in a year. I actually posted a picture recently. And I'll show it to you guys again here. Go out of videos. Go into my pictures. And I posted this recently on, I think on my Instagram, to show my 1 year leg growth. Actually, it's not there. Let me go into my photos because I just want to show you. And you've probably seen it before, actually, but I think it's always good to see it again because one of the photos was taken just before my competition in May, I think it was. Oh, you know what? Oh, it was. Okay, well, this isn't actually, I don't, for some reason, I don't have these side by side. So this was taken just before my competition in 2018, okay? I think this was about February 2018. This was February 2019, so 1 year later. So let me go back and forth between these. So there, right? And then, oh God, 1 year later. Do you see the difference? Do you see the thickness in the quads? Exactly the same time of year. Now, slightly different angle, but the thickness is insane. So that's what can happen in a year whenever you train this way. But what I want to tell you is there's plenty of ways. I hate to use the analogy, there's loads of ways to skin a cat, but there are loads of ways to skin a cat. Like there's loads of ways to build legs. It doesn't just have to be, super hard and heavy, high intensity training with a big massive gorilla like Mark. A lot of people say, oh, I wish I had Mark Getty. I'll never be able to have that body. Well, yeah, you can. You just have to do it differently. Like, would it be easier if you had Mark? Yeah, but you don't have him. So what can you do? Okay. But I want you to understand is that, yes, that's the fastest and easiest way. But if you don't have a spotter and you have fears and you have, flexibility issues or mobility issues or knee issues or whatever, you can actually do a lot of single leg work. Or you can understand what your limitation is. And that's a huge thing. Understand what your limitation is and work on your limitation. If your limitation is fear, do the thing repeatedly until you're not fearful anymore. And then you will find yourself more comfortable and able to push harder. And that is how you build big legs and build big glutes. Okay, I'm going to take a few questions in the last 5 minutes before we finish. Let me see what I have going on. You guys don't actually have any questions about building legs? You just all been listening but not actually building any questions. I'll answer one here about fat loss. Billie Jane is asking, I've been doing an hour cardio regularly, eating on and off plan. My son's wedding is 4 months out. Besides following the plan, any tips to achieve shredded results? So if you want to achieve specific results in 4 months, which is 16 weeks, you have to follow a specific calorie and macro counted meal plan that drops every week. There's no other way to do it. You can't do it on a wing and a prayer. Like, you have to work out what is your, TDEE, what are you currently eating, and what do you currently weigh, and then what do you want to weigh, And then you have to work out a plan from there. So let's say your TDEE is 2,000 calories. Well, you have to then say eat 1,900 calories for 2 weeks, and then 1,800 calories for 2 weeks, and then 1,700 for 2 weeks, and then 1,600 for 2 weeks, and then 1,500 for 2 weeks, and then 1,400 for 2 weeks. And that's, what's that, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14. So that's 12 weeks, right? And then see how you are after 12 weeks and how far away or close you are to your goal, and then decide, are you going to stay at the 1,400, or are you going to go to 1,300, are you going to go to 1,200? Like, what will it take in those final 4 weeks to get shredded for your son's wedding? There's no winging a prayer whenever you have a specific fat loss goal. People always say, I want to be really skinny for, my son's wedding in 4 months. What do I do? Well, get on a specific fat loss plan. Follow phase 2 of this program, right? Phase 2 is 12 weeks long. Follow that. Follow it specifically. You have a shred program which will get you completely shredded in 12 weeks. As part of this program, follow that and that'll get you results. And people are like, it's so hard and I don't really want to. Is there not an easier way? No. If there was an easier way, I would give it to you, but there's not. I would love for there to be an easier way to lose body fat, but really there's not. So that's what I would recommend. Brooke is asking, is it better to squat less and get lower in the squat? Yes. Or squat heavier but maybe not able to get as low? No. It's always better to squat less and go lower. The problem is most people are able to squat more and go lower. They just don't want to because they're scared. So anyone who's only doing half squats, take the weight off and do full squats. And only add weight on to the point where you can still do a full squat. As soon as you find yourself doing half squats, you're squatting too heavy. Leave your ego at the door, take the weight off and go to full squat. Now, does this mean that maybe you might be sacrificing a little bit of weight because you're scared? Yes, but that's okay. It's much better to go all the way down and all the way back up again with less weight than it is to do half squats with more weight, always. How do you know when to increase your weight? Increase every week? No, there's no way you're going to increase your weight every week, Brooke. No way on God's earth. You increase your weight always when you can. So when you can perform 8 to 10 reps with a particular weight, struggling on the last 2, then it's time to increase. So I always work on getting comfortable with the weight. Whenever you go up to a new weight, you're always going to feel slightly nervous. And so you need to get comfortable with it. So the first couple of weeks at that new weight, you're still going to be getting comfortable with it. Maybe you're only going to do 6 reps whenever you increase your weight, right? Because you're just scared to go for those final 2. But next week, you'll be like, okay, I'm going to go for 7 reps today. So next week you do 7, right? And then I'm going to go for 8 reps today. Next week you do 8 reps. And then maybe the next week you do 9 and the next week you do 10. So over 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, over 5 weeks, you've gone up 1 rep per week. Once you can do 10 reps at that weight, add some more weight on. But don't forget, it doesn't have to be 20 kilos. You could add on 2.5 kilos. You could put a 1.25 kilo plate on each side. So you could go up 2.5 kilos. You're still increasing your weight. Some people think that they have to put like an extra 10 on each side. You don't. Just do a little tiny incremental increase and build your confidence and build your weight up slowly. And as long as you're constantly adding more, you will build more muscle. Do you increase on each set or only on the final set? Brooke. Brooke, where have you been for the last 6 months? Brooke, you can't be asking me this question so far down the road. And I know you've been around for a long time. You only increase your weight on the final set. Oh, actually, do you know what? I think I know what you're asking. Okay, I take it back. Do you increase? Okay, you're asking, do you increase your weight on every single set? Okay, I take it back. You're like, no, that's not what I meant, Kim. Don't shout at me. I take it back. Apologies. Do you increase your weight on every single set? No, only on the final set. Like in the beginning, yes, I guess I was doing maybe, 20 kilos a plate each side on the incline hack squat. And then I went to 2 plates and then 3 plates. Now I go 1 plate each side, 2 plates each side, 3 plates each side, 5 plates each side. So I do 4 sets. So, but I kind of keep the first set's just a warm up. Second set's also just a warm up. Now the third set I might go, I'll probably only go 3 plates, maybe 3.5 plates on the third set. And then the fourth set I go 5 plates. I put 200 kilos on the machine. So you don't want to tax your muscles so much that the final set is like an absolute killer. You want to be able to make sure that you get through it. But, and so but you want to make sure that the sets before the final set are kind of incremental increases. Like you don't want to go from, a 40 kilo squat to a 100 kilo squat. You want to make sure that your legs are warmed up enough to hit that 100 kilos. So I would normally go on a squat, I would start on say 60 kilos warm up weight, and then I would go 70, 80, 100. Or I would go 60, 70, 80, 100 is what I would do. Or 60, 70, 90, 100, something like that. I don't ever want to be close. I don't ever want to be close to my final max weights on my second last set. I want to still have about 3 to 5 reps left in the tank, the set before the final set. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed this session. Definitely feels good to be feeling good again. I really have had a real struggle this last month, but hopefully it hasn't come across too much in the masterclasses. Hopefully you've still enjoyed the teaching and it's been useful. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this session. I will see you all on Wednesday for a Q&A. Make sure you ask questions, because if you don't ask questions, you don't have anything to answer, right? So questions on the graphic for the Q&A on Wednesday. See you here, same time. Can't think of anything else to say. So you're all looking gorgeous today, by the way. You're looking beautiful. Every single one of you. Just hair's lovely, skin's glowing. You look fabulous. Absolutely gorgeous. In case no one told you today, you look gorgeous. I'll see you all on Wednesday for Q&A. Thanks so much for being here. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the week wherever you are. And same time, same place, 4 p.m. Wednesday. See you there. Or B Square.